My name is Christina Bood, and I am a retired school teacher. I taught 40 years with the Detroit Public School System, and my recent schools were Beckham Academy and Carlton Elementary. And I was a witness at the hearing last week, and I testified in the hearing. And I would like to say that there is a group, Facebook, with Mr. Dominic Bailey, Nina Cracker, Emma, and Turner, and some exec board members, and they show campaign buttons with Ivy Bailey for president, and they meet at bars, and they plan and strategize the next attack on Steve's meetings. At the hearing, everything that was still charged at the end of the trial had been the very issues that were shown evidence to be proven false in favor of Steve. And yet they came out with the same charges after the hearing, after 10 of Steve's highly credible witnesses that had seen things with overwhelming evidence disproving each charge. The evidence also clearly connected almost every charge back to Miss Ivy Bailey and a plan, including her husband Dominic Bailey and her inner circle, of plotting and executing each event that turned into false charges against Steve. At the IEBW hall, what actually happened was Emma entered the hall refusing to take literature of information of the meeting being passed out, and she was the only teacher, and she entered carrying a large sign. And it was evident from the onset that she had no interest whatsoever in the meeting except to disrupt it, and instead of bringing back information to her school, which is what the meeting was supposed to be held for. The group she and Ann Turner, Nina Cracker, Patty McCowan, Emma, Denise, Dominic Bailey belonged to, and some exec board members as well, met in bars prior to each meeting and planned the attacks on the next general membership meeting. They and Ivy Bailey then post that it was Steve's fault the meeting was disrupted and changed venues because of something Steve or BAM group did. This is false. Emma sat on tables at this meeting opposite the election committee and continued to yell, kick her legs, wave her arms up and down, and provoke the election committee and yell at members not to go in. So they couldn't reach a quorum and couldn't vote on anything. She herself refused to sign in, and again showing her intent to disrupt instead of attending the meeting and taking back information to the teachers. She and her boyfriend, who was not a DFT member at all, were harassing members and saying derogatory things to them. She provoked the election committee by constantly blocking Patrick, the chair, so he couldn't even reach back to his table and communicate with the committee of certain things that were happening and needed to know. And her friends, including Ann Turner, is shown on the video that they showed at the hearing, pulling out her camera and photographing the documents while Emma distracted Patrick, and when he turned around and grabbed the phone, she jumped in and continued the videotaping, which was clear evidence that their intent was to get information, confidential information. There was no assault. Patrick told Emma 3 times to put the camera away, do not take videos, and that she wasn't allowed to videotape the table with information, confidential information of memberships. Someone else told her to get off the table. There was no assault. Patrick told Emma 3 times to put the camera away and do not take videos of the table. Someone else told her to get off the table and go take a seat in the meeting. She refused both and refused to sign in and continued to disrupt. When Patrick was at the table, he turned around and Emma was videotaping, so he couldn't see her. And that's when he took the phone, but it was Emma that tugged on it and jumped off the table with her hair flying all over and continued to wrestle with him, causing the phone to slip, which she quickly picked up and assembled and continued to use. And the 2 pieces, then one of the exec board members told her, call 911. Well, you don't call 911 in the city of Detroit unless it's or anywhere for that matter, unless it's a life-threatening circumstance. She was standing up with her phone and it was fine, and then continued videotaping after all of that. She was seen laughing, and then after police arrived and witnesses testified, they said they were not charging anyone because my officers took statements and we clearly see what happened. And when the sergeant arrived, I was giving a witness statement, and all of a sudden Emma pulls out her phone again, and the sergeant was watching over my shoulder as I was giving my statement, and I turned around, and here is her boyfriend moving closer to me to pick up the audio of my witness statement. The officer said, many of the videos that are posted on this Facebook pages, and I did not want my witness statement or my face on their videotape. So I turned around, and instead my instinct was to grab that phone because my privacy was being invaded, and have the officer give it to the officer to erase it, which he said he could. I demanded they stop, and that was witness intimidation and illegal. And then they were both seen laughing about it, and the next week an exec board member posted on their Facebook to Emma and another gal something to the effect, "You girls rocked, you were great," indicating their behavior at the last meeting, which indicated to me that it was pre-planned and executed at the meeting, and was well aware of by the exec board. Then certain people went to the IBEW hall and told the manager a different story and had Patrick banned from the hall under false accusations. This group then went to the prosecutor's office, went back to get a video from the hall, gave it to the prosecutor. And when I called the manager of the IBEW hall just to see what was going on, why Patrick was banned, he said, "Oh, come on down and see my video. We have video from the time Emma came in, from the time she left, and I don't let anybody hit a woman under my roof." And I said, "Well, do you have the large part where she sat on the table swinging her legs and arms, preventing members from going in, yelling so loud I could hear her out in the parking lot where I was passing out flyers?" And he replied, "Oh, that never happened." And I said, "Really? That never happened?" And I said, "Well, I was there and in the hallway for the majority of the time and saw her. Are you saying that the video that they took to the prosecutor's office after and back to the police did not show her screaming and yelling, sitting on a table, kicking her legs and arms, provoking members and the election committee, kicking her feet, waving her arms, telling people not to go in?" And he stated, "That's right. She was never on a table, and that did not happen." So I said, "Well, maybe I will come down and see that video." Emma also posted this video that she had at a bar meeting and invited all people after the general membership meeting come and view the video from the IBW hall, and was proud of it. And this also video was the reason Patrick Burton was arrested from his classroom, based on that video. So I said to him, are you saying that the video that you handed the girls that caused Patrick to be arrested did not show her doing any of this outrageous, destructive behavior? Are you saying it was clipped out somehow? Because you said the video showed Emma from the time she entered the building, from the time she left. And yet, none of this provoking, destructive behavior was on that video. And he got extremely defensive. And I said, maybe I will come down and see that video. No, you can't come down and see the video. No one's coming down and seeing the video. This is my video, and you're not viewing it. And I'm done with the teachers and everybody. And he just slammed down the phone. So it was crystal clear to me that he was hiding something very critical to this tape. Next, we talked about the exec board meeting that came after the IBEW Hall video or incident. And I witnessed Steve, when I came in, trying to deliver his president message with the exec board rudely eating food and yelling stuff to interrupt him constantly. And then I actually feared for my life because two people stormed the meeting and walked in sloppily dressed and started yelling at everybody. And it was Emma and Dominic Bailey, Ivy Bailey's husband. They were pointing fingers at individual people and starting arguments and refusing to sit down. And then Dominic Bailey yelled out to people, did you all drink the Kool-Aid? Are you being conned by the con? And he also started arguing with people, and the voices became elevated, all while Steve is trying to give his report, and he kept on going, that I felt something bad was going to happen, that a near riot was going to, and there were going to be a physical fist fight. Later, security came in, and they all were also pounding on the walls and doing these crazy things. And later, security came in and said that the exec board could no longer have meetings in this room, in this building. And then Ivy posted the next week or so on the DFT website that it was because of Steve and Bam that they got kicked out. The same way she posted that it was because of Steve that they were no longer allowed to use the DFT hall, or the IBEW hall. I looked over to see what Ivy was doing while all this was coming down, and she said and did nothing, just continuing to eat food and watching her husband carry on this outrageous, disgusting, unethical behavior. And it seems to me that she should have been removed the next day. While Steve was trying to deliver his speech. I have never seen Steve doing anything that he was not supposed to do. He was always following protocol and doing his best to do his job. All the activity against Steve started after he was elected at the first meeting at the Adobe Hotel, when after a wonderful, well-prepared speech, and very uplifting at a time when Detroit is on a resurgence and everybody's trying to be positive and contribute to the well-being and the future of Detroit, Emma got up to the mic and started yelling into the mic and saying negative things that no one had ever seen her before as a teacher, professional, or anything. She came out of nowhere, and people were telling her to sit down because they didn't like what she was saying. It wasn't true. It was completely negative, and she was so erratic that she actually made no sense. I asked Ivy at the beginning of the hearing the other day, outside the hearing, beforehand, I stopped her and I said, so who are all these members that you posted that have complaints? And she hesitated. She named one person, a member of the Facebook group promoting her for president. And I stated, well, there are 4,000 members. Who are the others that are filing complaints? She could not name one. And then when we went in, the only complaining members sitting there were Emma, Patty McCoyne, and then she tried to put her husband, Dominic Bailey, as the third complainant. You know, the one seen yelling and screaming and disrupting the exec board meeting so Steve couldn't talk. That's who she wanted to pull. They wouldn't let her. In other words, no members were complaining. This was another planned event to oust Steve so that she would then automatically become the president without the benefit of earned votes. Just like a thief in the night, stealing what Mr. Conn had spent decades earning his spot. When Emma's attorney demanded my folder of notes, which I was told I could bring into the hearing, which were relevant to the hearing, he grabbed them and said, I want these copied and turned in as evidence. Well, it was funny because as he handed them to Ivy Bailey, as she was looking through them, and I started reading them out loud, I said, well, here, let me read some of these since they're going to be turned in. And as I started reading them, and she could clearly see that these were some of them were copied from posts from the Facebook with executive board members' comments, her husband Dominic Bailey's comments. She quickly gave them back to me and said, no, that's okay. I don't feel we need to take these into evidence. And so the attorney then grabbed a copy of my notes, started reading my notes, which were response to the telephone conversation with the manager of the IEBW hall, and he starts reading them, and I said, well, if you're going to read those notes, they're out of context. Let me tell you what happened. So that's the point where I explained what happened at the conversation between the IEW hall manager and him telling me, come on down and view the video. And then when I asked what portion that I saw, and he explained it wasn't there, it never happened, and that's when I was able to tell that incident. So basically, I understand that also at the hearing there was a mention of their complaint with the Association of BAM. Well, I'm sorry, but I feel that Ivy Bailey's association with discussions and strategies is far more detrimental and horrible. Her association, her activities, her husband's activities, and the exec board members are far more horrifying and unethical as I have ever seen. BAM is a good group, and they support the teachers in Detroit because there is an inequality of education in Southeast Michigan. It's very clear that the children in Detroit are not given a fair shake. They have overcrowded classrooms, but much more individual needs. I also worked for a year with the state of Michigan up in Lansing and helped compose the first grade Glickies, which statewide they use as almost their common core of today. And I can assure you, from my experience in Lansing, it is very different in suburban districts and then in the urban setting. And so this group is a good group that's trying to promote equality of education for the students. And they actually helped come in and save our school. They also saved Catherine Ferguson and did many other good things. 3 of the exec board members actually worked at my school, and their jobs were saved because when I asked as a union rep for teachers to come out and help with the activities that we were organizing to save our school, they didn't show up, just a couple, but all of BAM showed up on a Saturday, on a Sunday. They came with clipboards, they came with petitions to take down to the board, to the board. And they went door to door in the neighborhood, getting signatures, asking them what they thought about their school closing. We went through the streets with megaphones and got the parents interested in coming to the town hall meetings to express their concerns of the school closing and the detriment that it was going to be on the parents who work in the area at St. John Hospital and others, and the children with a new school. They were going to be funneled into Marquette, which is across the expressway, and these little 5-year-olds are expected to walk across an expressway and walk 10 blocks to get to school. So they came out in full numbers, and they got everything organized. They arranged for buses for the parents to go down to the town hall meetings, to get up to the microphones, to express things. They had meetings with parents. It was wonderful. And by the time we were done with the emergency financial manager, when he came out to our school, and we found out that he actually had a buyer for the school, and he twisted the numbers a little bit about our test scores and our population shrinking. It was actually growing, and our test scores were growing. And I compared that with the information that the principal gave me. He said to the parents and the students and the teachers, "I'm sorry, but I don't often make these mistakes, but I guess I made a little mistake in my numbers, but your school will be saved and kept open." It is open to this day, and some of the teachers who were there during that incident are still there today. So bless the BAM people. They are trained, and they are doing a good job of supporting us. When we're in our classrooms, they can do things that we can't do. I've never heard any complaints about the SWAT teams by the police department that help them do harder jobs that they can't do. I never heard any complaints from our armed service of the Navy SEALs that go in and do harder jobs that they can't do. I never hear of doctors complaining about the nurses that help them on a daily basis. We all need help, and especially teachers in the urban area. That's what they're here to do, is to help and support us. And who would deny help? And who would deny the fact that the children in the city of Detroit do not have an equal education? A civil rights group is needed to come in. I never heard anybody complaining about Martin Luther King. I never heard anyone complain about Rosa Parks. I never heard anyone complain about anybody who got out there and they had to go outside the box a little bit, think outside the box in order to make change. So the BAM group is a good group, and anyone who would deny or say that they were not and praise the works of Rosa Parks and Martin Luther King is a fraud. A fraud. Because they're saying one group is good, but this group, they're doing the same thing, but I don't like them. So you need to get to know the members of BAM and understand that they're not high school students. They're actually college graduates, most of them, in the areas of law, civil rights. In fact, one of them is at my alma mater as we speak, ready to graduate, Western, and he is ready to be a secondary teacher, which means he may be working right alongside some of these very teachers or exec board members who are complaining about it. These are highly intelligent people who are here to do good work. Get to know them, and you will see that they are on the right track. And I think I'm done with what I have to say, and I hope I've made my points, and I hope I've been informative to people who don't quite understand what's going on. And good luck to Steve, and I hope that his appeal and everyone goes out to that first membership meeting in order to get to have their voice heard and the voting to take place. 2/3 majority is what he needs to keep him in. Thank you.